This video we're making pumpkin donuts or pumpkin bread or pumpkin muffins. One of these is 60 calories and 7 grams of protein. It'll hit your macros, fill you up, taste great. Some pumpkin protein donuts, although you could make them into muffins or bread, depending on what you prefer. Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel. We give you recipes that get you a six-pack abs and give you a high protein, low carb, low fat diet of tasty, filling foods. So these muffins, the total batch is 609 calories with 62 net carbs, 67 protein, 5 fat, and 13 fiber. So basically, more protein than carbs. This is like a high quality protein bar such as Quest. Start out by adding the flour. For a double batch here, we're gonna use a cup of flour. So we're gonna try to make 12 of these donut size using the Silicone donut mold. See the affiliate links in the description. And for that, we're gonna use 1 cup of self-rising flour we're using today. If you don't use self-rising flour, if you use normal flour, then you're gonna wanna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. But since we're using self-rising flour, we're not gonna add the baking powder, but we are going to add half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then we're gonna add, you could add a teaspoon of cinnamon, nutmeg, but instead we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, because that's easier. So I'm gonna take off the lid here. So 2 teaspoons is about half a tablespoon. So we'll dump that in. And we'll also want to make a topping with this pumpkin pie spice too. You could also put, if you really wanted to go all out and you wanted to ice these, you could use something like the Swerve confectioner sugar, or you could grind your erythritol or allulose in a blender. But the confectioner sugar is quite nice. It's not more expensive, so I recommend getting that. Links to that in the description. We're gonna use brown monk fruit. This is mostly erythritol, right? I like to mix up the non-nutritive sweeteners that I use, although erythritol and allulose are gonna come out the most like sugar. I just don't like the recipes with the puffy versions of sucralose, for example. But if you like that, you can also use that in lieu of that. So in lieu of erythritol or allulose crystals. So for the erythritol, we're supposed to have a cup and a half, a cup and a third, 1 1/3 cups. Quite a lot. This would be quite sweet. This is a big batch, so for meal prep. I'm not gonna eat all this at once. If you did, it would only be, we're gonna have 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. That also comes out to be about 1/8 of a cup, or 2 tablespoons is 15 grams. It doesn't have a strong flavor. I would probably vanilla is the best. So each scoop is about 30 grams. So that's 90 grams of whey, right? So most of our protein is coming from the whey in the mix, and the whey acts as a substitute for flour and almond flour, so we have less flour, more whey in it. I normally will do a whey casein blend, but because of the moistness of the pumpkin, we're not going to do that. Okay, so this is 15 ounces. This is almost 2 cups of 425 grams of pumpkin. So we want to have half a cup of pumpkin. Or actually a full cup, because we're doing a double batch. So a full cup of pumpkin here. So we're going to use much of this container. We'll measure it out into volume. So liquid egg whites, cartons should be like a staple in your kitchen. So many things you're going to use it for. You're going to use it for like pancakes and all these mixes, and just keeps you from trying to crack eggs and separate the yolks. So the yolks, if you need fat, then egg yolks are great, but usually most Americans, their diet has plenty of fat, don't need extra egg yolks, you don't need the extra fat. What you probably do need is more protein and less fat, because fat is the least filling of the macronutrients per calorie. Each gram of fat is about 9 calories. Each gram of protein is about 4 calories. So in terms of how filling a macronutrient is, in terms of satiety, protein's going to be the most, give you the most satiety, make you not the least hungry, then carbs, then fat per calorie. Not per gram, but per calorie. Because fat has twice the calories per gram. The other thing is that the studies they do, they find that, fat is rarely converted into energy immediately. It's usually just converted into fat storage. Carbs tend to be converted first into energy, and protein is the least likely thing that the body's going to break down into energy, and the more likely to use it for skeletal muscle, which is what we're working. Is 170 grams. That's 1 serving on this Fage. Like Fage the best. It's got the best macro profile of the Greek yogurts that I've seen, but maybe you can figure out one more. But it's a little expensive. You're gonna have slightly different calories and macros. Okay, so next up we're going to use a mix of brown erythritol and pumpkin pie seasoning to put on top. Pumpkin pie seasoning and erythritol mix, we just put that on top. So there'll be like a kind of crunchy top and then smooth bottom for the donuts. Similar for the muffins. And in 30 minutes, you should be done. Each one of these is about 60 calories, 7 grams of protein. So you can have 3 of these, and it'll be like a protein bar. So moist and chewy, so sweet and gooey, it stays for a long time. Subscribe.